Welcome to Books in the Freezer, a podcast dedicated to the deliciously disturbing world of horror fiction. I'm your host, Stephanie, and today I am joined by author Hailey Piper to talk about her upcoming short story collection, Teenage Girls Can Be Demons, and coming of rage stories. Because despite all our rage, we are still just rats in a cage. Welcome back, Hailey.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
I have been very excited to do this episode because there's just so many good movies and books. And I mean, we need to talk about your collection.
Yeah. It should be out by the time this is up.
Well, that's exciting. So everyone can go check it out. I went into it knowing that Benny Rose the Cannibal King was going to be
Yes.
included. And I was very excited because I was one of the, like, I read it when it was a Rewind or Die novella. But I didn't know there would be other familiar stories from you. So I was excited. I think is it Unkindly Girls was
Yes,
when I started reading. I'm like, I know this one.
yeah, that's I think that's still the most popular one. Um
Really?
yeah, well, it was funny because when my first short story collection came out, a bunch of people were like, "Oh, is Unkindly Girls in it?" And I was just like, at that time, I didn't have the rights back, so I was just like, "No, sorry, I didn't know that you were all were anticipating that."
I was gonna ask, like, are there certain stories you're like excited are gonna get a second life? I'm assuming that's one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some that are like, they've been well read already, like Unkindly Girls, Why We Keep Exploding, The
Yeah.
Turning. But there are other ones, like Autotomy that I didn't feel got really a good chance, or Last Leaf of an Ursine Tree. And then there are the news stories
Yeah.
too, that have never been seen before, that I'm really excited people are going to get to read. Long Flesh of the Law, Thagomizer, Magical Girls, Child Crusader Squad, and The Many Sins of Clara Greenstone.
I loved that one. Was the hopscotch one? Was that new to this collection?
No, that
Or
came out in Places We Fear to Tread
okay.
a few years ago, which was like tell a horror story in a real location. So that was based off of a Blacktop Park that I went to as a kid in New York. Nothing like that happened there, thankfully. But it was just like it's how do I put this? It's a weird like it feels weird now, but it's like back then it's just like yeah, they would just put like a slab of asphalt down, put a couple of playground pieces on it that were not safe, and be like, this is a place for the children to gather.
There you
Just
go.
go there, and we did.
It is funny to think how kids will just adapt to that. Be like, yeah,
Oh yeah.
okay, this is our place now.
Yeah, oh totally. We will shape that environment.
Well, I remember when you announced this collection, specifically like the title and the cover, I feel like the internet had feelings about this.
Oh yeah. Um Different feelings for different depending on the people, like because some people were very excited. They were just like, "Oh my god, yeah," like, because they saw coming of rage and they understood immediately what that signified for, like about teenage girls, about feminism, about the like I say this in acknowledgments, but like teenage girls get shit on for everything, blamed for everything. And I'm just like, I was fed up enough of that just with writing Benny Rose, but I realized I write a lot of coming of age horror fiction in my short stories. Like there are enough short stories still that we could do a second volume, honestly.
Wow.
Like I was like, oh, okay, is this my second this might be my second favorite subgenre of horror after cosmic horror. But there were other people who were like, yeah, teenage girls are demons, and like this some weird stuff was like people telling like about their grievances from when they were younger, and I'm just like, okay, the girls in these stories didn't do that to you though.
It's that internet disease that people have,
Computer
truly.
madness.
And yeah, we're like, you can't make a statement online without people being like, if you say, like, I like pancakes, someone's like, well, I can't eat pancakes because I have a gluten intolerance. You're
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry. I
or
don't know
or the
what does
whole
that have
what
to do
was
with
it?
me.
Was it like, oh, so you hate waffles?
Yeah, so you hate waffles. It's either that, it's either I hate waffles or like, how dare you? Some of us can't eat
Like,
pancakes.
right. But then you like you extend that out to like anything, and it just like that's silly, but then you extend it out to all kinds of topics, and it
Yeah.
becomes just like, oh, something's wrong with us these days. Um, but like you
Everyone
can't be like, I hate all teenage girls because this one girl was mean to me when I was 15, 30 years ago. And I'm like, that's not, you're not okay. That's not okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading the comments on your post, and it truly was moms being like, "Well, someone was mean to my son. There was a teen girl who was mean to my son." I'm like,
It was like,
Okay, I'm
and like,
sorry."
that was like, that I remember that one, and one of those was like, yeah, he's in his 30s now and he still remembers. And it's like, that's not good.
Sounds like therapy is needed for both of you if you're holding on to this too.
Yeah,
Yikes.
see, my and that's the funny thing. I'm like, my characters tend not to go to therapy because it'll make a more interesting story. But that's not a role model for you. You should definitely go to therapy.
But we were talking about coming of rage, which, as you
Yes.
said, some people hear that and they know exactly what that means. But how would you describe that to people that don't know what we're talking about?
I think adolescence is just a miserable time. And I think that the injustices against kids, honestly, are just immense. We like you can see it in so much of what's going on these days that like people don't see if you're under 18, they don't see you as a human being, they don't see you as a person. And I think a lot of people just forget what it was like to be that age, because it's not it isn't the stuff other kids were doing that haunts me. It's the way adults didn't care. It's the way adults were neglectful or abusive that bothers me. And I'm just like, I I didn't just approach it from that angle. I approached it from many different angles. I wanted to have a selection of stories like stuff at school. So it was with other kids, stuff with parents, stuff with strangers, stuff with, people you're told that you should be able to trust, on and on. Um, but just like you have so much against you and so little control over your own life that it is enraging. And I do think that a lot of people carry that. And I think that, uh, again, girls specifically are attacked disproportionately. And, as you become a woman, it doesn't really get better.
No.
We just get angrier and then blamed for that. And that's part of what kind of makes me raise my eyebrows about comments, just like, oh yeah, teenage girls are demons. And I'm just like, I don't think you like women either.
Yeah, I
That's a
agree.
long, whirly round way of how I see coming of age is like the rage that comes with coming of age.
Yes. And it's that time where you're transitioning from a child into an adult. So there's a lot going on with that, but you are also becoming aware of the world around you and the
Yes.
systems and oppressions in place that you were not aware of when you were a child, and you were becoming aware of your place in that. And in this time where, like you mentioned, you just don't have control over your own decisions. There are a lot of external factors
Yeah.
controlling your life.
And it's interesting because a lot of adults are like, I remember being 14 and discussing gay marriage and discussing like politics and stuff with other kids. And it's strange to me that a lot of adults don't see teenagers as capable of having those kinds of discussions with each other. It's like it's not a lack of intelligence; it's a lack of experience that makes for extreme, positions on things. Um, but it's not. I feel that there needs to be some level of not disrespecting that. Um, you know, each of us is only like it's like never been alive before,
Yeah.
and like figuring things out while also your body is like constantly betraying you, it feels like. And again, no control, no say. Um, if you want to take a sick day from work, like maybe your job is very strict about that, but you could do it, you know, like you have all this stuff against you, like, oh, well, your parents have to be okay. You know, principal report you if you're not like, you know, if you're out of school, whatever. Like you just, there's just so little there. And I'm so like I as much as I'm like, yeah, people have computer madness, I'm still glad that I had the internet when I was a
Yeah.
teenager because at least it was some level of freedom. And I'm not even sure the internet offers that to adolescents anymore.
Yeah. It seems
Versus the way it was like in the early 2000s and the late 90s and such. So I'm just like, but you're not supposed like nowadays it's like, oh, there were teenagers outside, you know, call the police. And it's just like, where are they supposed to exist?
yeah.
It's unreal. You're not allowed to be anywhere unless you're buying something, and kids don't have money, so don't like. But then at the same time, I'm going on a complete rant, but it's like at the same time it's just like, women, make sure you're having as many babies as possible, like subject them to this. And it's just like, okay,
And where are they supposed to be?
right, where are they supposed to exist? Like it's, see,
Yeah.
now I'm all heated up.
And I mean, you know what? You're right. I mean, like when we were growing up, malls were a place you could hang
Right,
out.
right.
You
You could
could,
just be there. Like they made a movie about it, Mallrats, where it let people who just hang around the mall and don't buy anything, but it was okay because it was kind of like the indoor version of going to the blacktop park or wherever. It's
we
not
lived.
really there much anymore unless you go to an abandoned one, which I guess that could be fun in its own
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. But yeah, we've built a world that is very hostile to loitering
Yeah.
and teens just hanging out and not having the space. And you're right, teen girls do get shit on for a lot. And
Your fashion's wrong, your music's wrong, the things you like are wrong, the way you talk is wrong, on and on and on.
yeah, we invent shit to criticize them on. Vocal fry,
Right,
filler
right. Oh, don't
words.
say like, don't say, you know, it's just,
I read a book by Amanda Montell, called Word Slut, and it was about the semantics of, like, the way
I love
women
that
are
title.
I love that book. It was the way women are criticized for the way they talk, and it did get into, like, chapters on vocal fry and filler words, but also the way the feminine equivalent of words will be devalued.
Yeah,
Like, a master and mistress used to mean the same thing, the same
right.
level, and mistress does not mean that anymore.
Yeah,
Just like every time there's an equivalency in power between a male and a female term, the female term will lose its value or become
right.
something else.
How you dress up the world affects people's feelings about it.
So we have a lot of rage about the cage we were referring to is the patriarchal world we live in. But should we talk about some movies that get into this?
Sure.
I had Teeth on here.
I no, I think that's appropriate because there are different like Nat Cassidy made a good point at the end of Mary, that coming of age, you have different comings of age, and I figured that was why Such Sharp Teeth was oh
Yeah,
shoot, I spoiled one of your books.
it's all good.
Okay. I figured that was why that Rachel Harrison book was on there because that also, it's not like coming of age as we traditionally think about it, but it is a coming of age.
Yeah,
We
coming
do
into
that at
your
different time. We have different ages through life. We don't just like hit adulthood and then stop developing. Or hopefully we don't.
no, we don't. But yeah, in Teeth, the main character we're following is grows up very religious, very fairly devout, and as she gets older, she kind of realizes her place and how she will be treated. She experiences several sexual assaults and discovers that she has something that can help her fight back and have a little bit of power.
Yeah.
We
It's
love it.
teeth.
It's Teeth, and you won't believe where, as you would know, Miss Queen of Teeth.
Yes, I was like, should I say Queen of Teeth? Should I mention the vagina dentata that turns into vagina monster book? Because I'm like, no, biting off penis is not enough. You need to bite off a city with your lower body teeth.
Yeah, that's the pull quote for the episode. Yeah, speaking of, like, kind of similar to Such Sharp Teeth, Ginger Snaps,
Yes.
I thought fit this because that is, like she becomes a werewolf as she starts her period, and
Yeah.
just this concurrent
It's
supernatural
honestly
and physical
a brilliant
transformation.
way to use, werewolf where the
Yeah.
werewolf subgenre of matching it perfectly with the fact that she's starting this period of her life and literally her period.
She's just, like, shaving her legs, and she's like, "Oh, no. This never ends. It's worse." I mean, I think when we speak about coming of age, I feel like the poster child for this that people think of is Carrie.
Yes. And I was almost gonna put it, and then I was like, "Oh, no, we you already covered it with the movie." And there are 4, I think there are, like, 4 movie adaptations at this point, so
I believe it.
it would be nice if they cast a fat actress so
For
it's
once.
like the book, just saying.
I know, and I listen, will I watch the Mike Flanagan adaptation? Yes, but you're right,
Yeah.
like, let's stick to the actual part of the book. The reason that they drop pig's blood on
Right,
her
right,
because they're fat shaming her the entire book. It's because
right.
she's fat. That's
It's
why it's
just
pig's
like
blood.
right, and there is something I feel like it would be very cathartic for a lot of people if there was a fat girl murdering the entire everyone in that gymnasium with her mind after they've been torturing her the entire time.
Exactly. And that was the first instance that I ever saw the Lucille Bluth "good for her" meme being used. It
That's
was like
great.
when Carrie kills everyone at prom. Good for her.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
I feel like we also gotta talk about Jennifer's Body if we're talking about
Yeah, that one is such an interesting anomaly because I love that she isn't getting revenge. She's
No.
actually going after boys that, as far as we know, haven't really done anything wrong.
Yeah,
But
it's
I'm like, when do we ever get like a woman who's a monster who does that though?
yeah.
It's pretty much always like her having this rage is justified, and we don't know, we obviously don't know those characters lives, but what we're presented is just like they're just boys. But that's part of the point because she's like, with Needy is like killing people. No, I'm killing boys.
Who sacrificed her?
Boys,
Group of boys.
or
And
they might have been
Needy, yeah,
men at that point. I don't know, like
yeah,
I
probably.
forget how
They're
old they
they're
were,
touring
but
they're touring musicians, they are, but
still.
yeah, good for her. Listen, do I feel bad for the little emo Kyle Gallner? A little bit, okay.
Yeah, but I think it's good that they did that. It's like, no, this is not just because I think
It's not clean
sometimes.
cut.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. I was like, what's the term I want? It's like clean cut. Not clean cut is perfect because it's like sometimes that's too easy, and I think sometimes when it's like putting someone's mind in a pressure cooker, and it's like, of course, when it explodes, it's going to hurt more people, not just people who deserved it. It's going to happen all around, and that's why when people are like, when somebody's like, oh, is like it's a horror movie, and like everybody's being misogynistic to her, and it's like, and this was a reel on Instagram where somebody's like, good, I hope she kills everybody, and the other person's like, but that's not right, and it's like, it's a movie, it's fiction. You can
And
have that catharsis in fiction.
yeah, and I feel like that's what horror does, is it allows us to explore these nuances, these
Yeah.
muddy emotions, and give us catharsis without the need for a black and white morality
Right.
tale.
We shouldn't be holding characters to purity tests. It's ridiculous.
Was Heather's yours?
No, it was Lisa Frankenstein, which
Oh,
actually segues perfectly since it's
yeah.
another Diablo Cody script.
Yeah.
With her, just like, she is different from everyone else. She's very goth, and everybody else is very like pastel and clean cut and preppy and such. And she, like, honestly, I'm kind of forgetting how it comes to this situation, but accidentally revives a dead guy from 100 or something years ago, and it's just like, I'm gonna fix you. And I think it's interesting because she has been so kind of pushed to the side, because sometimes coming of age is not just about like something was like active abuse. can be passive abuse of neglect. And I just find it interesting in there where it's just like, the funny thing is that movie, one of the early parts of that movie is that her mom is murdered,
Oh,
and nobody really seems to care. Like they kind of use that as a way to taunt her at times, but I'm just like, that's never resolved. She never,
no.
it's not like she ever finds out who did it and like uses parts of that guy to make her undead boyfriend or anything. It's just like she doesn't get that. And it's kind of again like Jennifer's body, where it kind of like the rage is gonna go somewhere.
I love
Um
Lisa Frankenstein.
yeah.
I was also yeah, the way that people talked about her mom being murdered, I was waiting for it to be like the truth was stretched out into some urban legend and she just doesn't talk about what actually happened. Like I was
Right.
waiting for it to be a bit, for it to be revealed that that wasn't true. And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh
that
no, wait,
wasn't
her mom was
true.
actually murdered in front
Yeah.
of her?"
It's bizarre because I'm like, how to okay, I'm waiting for this to tie in. It doesn't. It's like
Yeah.
because sometimes bad shit happens and that's just it. It just
Yeah.
and that it's never resolved. You never get closure. And the funny thing is, like, I've seen people criticize that movie for it, but I'm like, you know who else doesn't get closure typically about a parent being murdered? Batman. And nobody ever bitches about that.
That's true, and it's part of his origin story
Mm-hmm.
every time.
And we get to see, we get to see Martha and Thomas Wayne get murdered again. Every movie.
How will the people understand? I also saw you at Eve's Bayou on
I
here, which I
did.
love.
That's another interesting one to me because at first it seems like she just has like this very like ideal life. Like her dad's well respected, her mom, like everybody loves her mom. Just little children's problems, but not really big things until you start to learn more about what's going on. And um I think I would say the coming of rage is very late in the movie, but from what she knows, because it is they do make it a little ambiguous,
Yeah.
which from what she knows, like this is justified. However, like she still feels bad about it later, but it's just like that's the thing about rage though. It is like it's like a volcano blasting. Like it happens and then it settles and it's just like okay, now what? Now what in the aftermath? But from what she understands of happening, it's just like, yeah, girl, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
It's slow to come to that, but I really love that movie. But
Yeah.
and then the last one I had was Cuckoo, which came out last year, I think.
That
Um,
sounds right.
yeah, about Hunter Schafer's character is being moved to this place, and there's this weird facility, and just a lot of odd stuff is going on. Lots of signs that something's not right around here, around this place, and that's her. I think her half sister is sick, but it all comes together later. But I'm just like the fact that she just keeps the main character just keeps pushing against everything that's happening, the move, the expectations from her family, the weird guy that is constantly like paying attention to her and he's acting like he's like her friend, like he's doing her a favor constantly, and it's just like I can't like disregarding what's actually happening in the movie with this like the sci-fi and horror elements that are revealed later. I can't stand when someone is just like it's I've had this happen with men before where it's just like I'm going to do this for you, now you owe me a favor.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something nice to you and now you owe me for saying something nice to you. It's like and it's like on the one hand that's never true, but also this is a 17-year-old girl and you are like a 30 late 30s at least man. Leave her the hell alone, go
Seriously.
away.
Get away from her. It's a lot of good coming of age movies. That is one of my
Yeah,
favorite
I think that
subgenres.
there's so many. There's so
Yeah.
many we could have thrown in here. We could be here all day talking about coming of age movies. I feel
Yeah. I was trying to think about, yeah. I was gonna say maybe all cheerleaders die, but I have not watched that
I
in
haven't
a
either.
minute. It's it's one of those, like, underrated it's, like, on and off Tubi, and that's kind of the only place you'll find it. Maybe sometimes on
That's a lot of
Shudder.
things with Tubi. Like somebody had a joke about like the person who uploads stuff to Tubi digging through the dollar bin of DVDs at like Walmart or something.
But that's like a whole team of cheerleaders. I don't know if they get pranked by the football team or something, but they all end up dying and coming back
Oh,
as
oh
zombies.
my.
It's like
That is interesting. I'll have to check that out.
they're like undead, and they start going after the boys that wronged them. Good for her.
Good for all of her.
Should we get into some books?
Yes.
I am starting off with Chlorine by Jade Song. Have you read this one?
Yes, I have.
I love this one so much. This is about a girl named Renu who is a competitive swimmer in Pittsburgh. Whoop, whoop. And since she was a child, she was obsessed with like myths and fairy tales, but specifically those involving mermaids. She has a really close friendship with Kathy, which is very like yearning, longing, sapphic.
Yeah.
And but as you're reading from Renzi perspective, you know that she truly feels that she is meant to be a mermaid, and this kind of teen girl life as a human is just kind of her biding her time until she can be a mermaid. Like she feels the most herself when she is in the water. And just going through her life, she's just becoming very disillusioned with like what it means to be a teen girl and the complications in her immediate family, the relationships there and identity and just growing up. I was going to say this is room temperature, but there is one scene. There is one
Yeah.
scene that may bump that up. But I just remember feeling like I completely not completely understood this protagonist because she is again convinced that she is a mermaid stuck in a human's body. But I think her disillusionment and her anger at what her life is like, I was like, I get where this is coming from.
Oh
This is
yeah.
very much this is teen girl. Like, is this what life is this is what I have? No, thank you. Put me in the water with the fish where I belong. Thank you.
The frustration from when it's just your mom, but also like she's doing her best, but it's also still like there's still this frustration. And but I was looking at it also as just like, her being like waiting for this mermaid thing is like I get that from just, being in the closet
Yeah.
and her like she knows she's gay, and I appreciate that she was kind of like, but I sleep with boys cuz it's just easier.
Yeah.
Because the thing with Kathy is very one-sided. Like the friendship isn't one-sided, but the at least my read on it felt like it was just Kathy is just pining
Yes.
for Renu throughout the book, and I didn't see it coming from the other direction. I felt it was just like, yeah, she's my friend who doesn't really understand me, but we're
Yeah.
still friends. But yeah, it felt like this is a relationship that can help me survive until the point where I no longer live a human existence. And I felt a lot of Black Swan. I don't know if you've seen that movie
Yeah.
vibes from this, especially some of the shit with the coach, the swim coach. Yeah, it's just a lot of just like, what if I could have a different option kind
Mhm.
of situation? What if there was something besides what the life that's expected? Because I think it's not just like the life of a teenage girl she's restricting, but she's also looking at her mother and all the things her mother has to deal with, and just kind of like, this is what's waiting at the end of this thing I already don't want.
Yeah.
And just like the human world is not it.
No. So, yeah, I remember reading that and being like, "I get what you're saying." I loved that book. It was one of my favorites the year that I read it. That is Chlorine by Jade Song.
All right, so my first book off is The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I don't know if you've read
I
this one.
I loved it,
Yeah,
yes.
I loved it too. And like it's pitched as a Carrie retelling, which it kind of is, but it also kind of isn't. Because it's, I think, working from different a different side of things.
Mhm.
Maddie is she goes to school in this like it's a town in the South in USA. They're still like they're very what I would call a bit regressive. There's a lot of racial tension in town. They still have a segregated prom, which as is typical, is like, oh well, the white kids can go to the black prom, but the black kids can't go to the white prom. One is held at this, like, I think an estate or like a mansion or something, and the other is kind of at
Yeah.
like just okay, this is the building we could get for this.
Yeah.
Maddie is up until the beginning of the book, seems to be white passing.
Hmm.
Nobody knows that she's black because of her father, very strict, abusive father. Like, you have to do this, you have to do that to hide this, and some of the bullying comes from people finding out, and then her getting the attention of one of the star athletes, and his girlfriend not being happy about that, um, and kind of things building as you see that she has these psychic powers, um, and her really taking, like, I haven't read Carrie, so I don't know if this is different, but like late on, Maddie taking on like the agency of those powers versus, I feel, at least what I've seen of Carrie adaptations being like, it kind of just explodes out of her. Is that accurate?
I feel like she does in the books. I think Carrie does like check out books on like telekinesis and
Okay.
does like
Okay.
try and practice.
Okay. Um, but yeah, so
Yeah.
I found this really interesting and compelling, just seeing, and there's an interesting kind of social media element to it as well, because like interspersed between the chapters, you get like people kind of like podcasts discussing, well, like what happened with Maddie back then, and I felt getting into how, again, adolescence has changed since when Carrie was written, of just like there isn't really a point where you get away. Like, Maddie doesn't have the internet at her house, as far as I recall. Like, her father's extremely strict. He only
Yeah.
lets her watch like 50s movies and such. But like, you know, the social media element, the podcast element, like, is like, even after it's having constant dissection of her and her life and anybody she's spoken to, anyone she cared about, anyone who survived the
Mhm.
ending of the book. But yeah, it's really engrossing read. That one is, I think that one's YA, but yeah, I
Yeah.
really felt for that.
Oh, I love that book, and I loved a lot of Tiffany D. Jackson books. It's a book I wish I would have listened to on audiobook because I heard the,
I
like
did listen to it on audiobook, which is probably why I'm like, I don't know how this character's name is spelled, but
yeah, but, I've heard, like, the podcast chapters are fun, like, they're produced like a
they are
podcast.
done. Yes, they're done like that. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I really loved that one. My next book is Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison, which we discussed isn't really a classic coming of age story because Rory is an adult, but she is kind of coming into herself at the same as
Yeah.
at the concurrent with this werewolf transformation. So we are following Rory, who is back in her hometown to help her twin sister who is pregnant, and she there's a chance she might rekindle things with like an almost flame named Ian. But
Yeah,
one
it's
night,
funny how there's like some Hallmark Christmas
yeah,
kind of thing. And I think it does take place during the winter. Um,
I,
I
I
think
think
so. It takes place over a few months because
yeah, because I'm like, I know there
she's
was
in
like a
town
fun
for a few months.
yeah, I know there was a scene with the Halloween party, but I think she definitely is there for winter too. But yeah, it definitely is like the I'm back in my hometown, like type of thing. Except coming home from a bar one night, she is attacked by an animal and she starts exhibiting strange behaviors like increased strength and aversion to silver. Oh no, what could have happened? I did love. I mean, and I think the best part of most werewolf stories is the really getting into the transformation. And I know Rachel really dug into kind of just the horrors of having to exist in a body and just
Yeah.
how fucking exhausting it is, how much maintenance it needs just to like keep it going. And I felt like the werewolf metaphor really worked well for that. I also loved in this book that it is about confrontation. Like, because of this change, there are things in her past that she has to come face to face with. She
Yeah.
has to confront. And this, I mean, forces her to do that and helps, other people in her family also forced to confront ugly truths that they don't like. And I was looking at reviews for this book, and I take issue with so many people talking shit about Rory being snarky because, like, people who go through trauma often develop a dark sense of humor to get through things, and this, like, cool girl persona is a part of that.
Right.
So, to quote the Mean Girls musical, "This is performance. This is self-defense. I thought you had the sense to see through that." This is one of my favorites from Rachel, and I think, like, what better metaphor for, like, rage and coming into yourself than a werewolf, you know? Just like
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because it almost is like she hasn't fully grown up because she hasn't confronted these things. And with the werewolf, it kind of again links back to Ginger Snaps of just like this is about growing up. This is a metaphor for growing up. She's having experienced that as well in the same way. It's like no, the werewolf is mean like it's you you can't just run away back to the city again. You have to deal with this.
you have to deal with this, and also having this doesn't make you broken or
Yeah.
unlovable. Like, you will still find happiness in people who will love you despite what you are.
Yeah. The trauma does not mean you're broken,
No.
and neither does being a werewolf.
No. Listen, we can work around that. So that is Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison.
So my next one is Cherish Farrah by Bethany C. Morrow. I don't see people talk about this one very much, which kills me because I love this book. It's about these two girls who are friends. One of them is kind of from like I would say like a middle class household, but she has this like very rich friend who's very spoiled by her parents, and stuff starts to happen where when the rich girl is kind of like doing stuff wrong, the main character Farrah starts to like get sick or get hurt, and she's not sure exactly what's going on, and that's like the plot stuff. But I don't know if that's even the most interesting thing with the book because there are like two worlds happening at once at all times in this book. There's what's happening physically, and then there is the many layers of psychological analysis that Farrah, who's very like she's extremely intelligent, she's extremely perceptive, and she is analyzing every single little thing that anyone does or says or how they say it around her, and figuring out like okay, what's the under meaning of that, what's she's reading between the lines, and she is finding between the lines within the between the lines. And it's not like some people might find that dizzying, but I was fascinated.
I
Like I
loved
was
her
just
as a
because
narrator.
it made it so tense. Even if it's just two characters like sitting next to each other at a pool and they're just kind of kicking their feet in the water, making it so tense. Feel like any like her mindset is kind of like anybody can be a threat at any time. There's always somebody who's ready to judge me. I'm like, and I'm just like, that is such a like it feels like a very Farrah thing, but it's also just like that's part of like existing a lot of the time is having to like assess so much, and how people are assessing you, whether it's on a surface level or whether they're reading between the lines on things, and like she is always like 5 steps ahead of everything that's going on in like she's like that not to like pull the MCU into this, but that part in Avengers Infinity War where Doctor Strange is like going through all the possible futures, that is Farrah in this book. Like she's constantly like she's assessing 5 potential timelines of what could be happening next, and it just makes everything so like you feel surveyed like
Yeah.
constantly, like this book's narration is like Elf on the Shelf or something. But it's like that is existing at times. It's existing around people, especially people who have some modicum of power over you.
Yeah.
Like you can take extrapolate that from being a teenage girl and put that like at your job. Like you that's why like and people are like, oh, everyone at my office is fake. Everyone at your office also thinks you are fake because everyone's having to perform what is acceptable at work.
Yeah.
In the same sense, it's like what is acceptable for her as a teenage girl.
Especially, yeah, like where she is, because they live in like a gated community, right? Like
Yeah,
her and
yeah,
Farrah, her and Cherish
yeah.
do. And Cherish was
Yeah,
adopted
I should have
by
said, oh yeah, the other one's Cherish.
uh and yeah, Cherish was adopted by white parents.
Yes.
And then Farrah has, black parents that
Yeah,
live in this gated community. So they both, while they are both black girls in this gated community, they feel very differently about it. Their
yeah.
upbringings are different, even though
Which is funny because Farrah is very like aware of that, and
yes,
Cherish is very unaware. Like she's not she's kind of, at least from Farrah's analysis, seems to be kind of floating through life. She doesn't seem to notice a lot of things. She doesn't seem to understand a lot of what's going on. Um, and that's partly due to her parents are just like, it's almost like they're trying to roll out the red carpet constantly, no matter who that gets rolled on top of.
exactly. And yeah, there was a lot of interesting dynamics in the book because I feel like she also had, like a well-meaning liberal mom who was
Right.
like trying to keep her in touch with her roots, like to a degree.
To a degree, except there's also this whole
Yeah,
other side of it that we don't find
exactly.
out until getting into the second half of the book. And that ending is
Yeah.
just like, I would not, I didn't see things going that far. And I was
No,
just like, oh my God. But like Farrah, nonetheless, is 5 steps ahead. She's got it all, like, she's got plans on top of plans.
I love her.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. It was such an interesting book, and I'm just like, I say this as an author. I'm like, where do you even start with writing something like this?
I don't
Like it's
know.
amazing. So like just like I'm like I wish I saw people talking about this more because it's like it's my favorite Bethany C. Morrow book.
And I love a toxic friendship. That's like
Yes.
that is one of my favorite book tropes, story tropes in general. Which brings us to one of my picks, which is Penance by Eliza Clark. I will say this one I think relates more to the literal title of your book. Teenage girls
Yes.
can be demons, but it also speaks to a lot of the hell that is being a teenage girl and navigating social hierarchies and high school and
Yeah.
trying to fit in. This book is written as a fictional kind of true crime
I like
tell
I like
story.
untrue crime.
Untrue crime. I'm gonna start using that. So this crime happened in 2016 where a girl, Joan, was tortured, stabbed, and set on fire by 3 other teen girls who were supposedly her friends and classmates. And there was footage from later on that night where those girls were just laughing it up at McDonald's, like they didn't just murder a girl. So this was obviously a crime that shocked, all of the UK, but, specifically this town, this dying seaside British
Yeah.
town called Crow-on-Sea. The book is told through interviews, transcripts, articles, Tumblr, Reddit posts, and the narrative from the author, who is, he was a journalist. This book, to me, was also a little bit like the Virgin Suicides, and that there's like a group of girls who do something unthinkable, but you're seeing it through the eyes of a
Like the
man or
outside.
the outside looking in. There's a lot of layers to this because this is a want to say like indictment on true crime culture and the way we talk about things. So there's a lot that's explored within the narrative, like obviously interviews with the girls that he was able to speak to, the parents, the community. But he also gets into like, how did these girls get here? Are there like online radicalization spaces for girls? Like some of these girls spent time on, Tumblr
The
for school.
radicalizing space of Tumblr.
I know. But the one that really, like, romanticizes, like, school shooters.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's some dark spaces on there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
As you get through, there is doubt spread on the narrative itself and its motives, and how much can you trust everything that you just read. A lot of these things could have been exaggerated, words were twisted, like, who even is this guy? And you as the reader are also like, were you guilty? Like, are you a part of this for contributing to this culture and picking up this book?
Right.
Like, it's one of those that really makes you think.
Hopefully.
Yeah, the exploitative nature of true crime
Right.
stories,
Because it's
especially these, like.
kind of like if there's an incentive to sensationalize a terrible thing that happened to someone, then like a guy like this can come in and like I can make a buck off of that. And I there's a tweet or a screenshot. I think it might have been Tumblr post. I'm not sure, but it's somebody being like me, murdered horribly, one time, and then it's like a podcaster 2 years, a true crime podcaster 2 years later. Okay, like gore hounds, like we got a really oopy goopy spoopy one here today, and it's like that felt like this book in a
Mhm.
nutshell.
Yeah, because it was essentially that. Like, obviously, this crime is one of those that's going to capture people's attention and
Right,
imagination just because of the very nature of it. So there is going to be curiosity digging into like what motivated these girls, what were the socioeconomic factors going on, like what were these girls' parents like? And you can see in the narrative that he is like painting people a certain way, that the
right,
victim was awkward and poor and this girl was rich, and
right.
there's like certain ways he's wanting you to view all these girls and really taking out
Right.
the
He
story.
has a foregone conclusion that he
Mhm.
wants you to reach and will structure things in a way that will guide you there.
Yeah. Um, so I really like that. Eliza Clark writes some dark books, so this is
Yeah.
not for everyone. Boy Parts was also pretty disturbing.
Boy Parts is definitely an interesting book.
Yeah.
I had to DNF Penance because it was getting to me too much. I did read Boy Parts and I did like that one. But yeah, Penance was just I think it was part where like they were interviewing one of the girls and she was like, I don't know why everyone's making such a big deal out of it kind of attitude. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just like, I don't know if there's a way you need to structure this guy, like fake author of the book within the book. As opposed to just like, I feel like there are some things that are objectively bad and
Mhm.
you don't need to decide like I'm going to paint this whole town as evil.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to turn it into like Derry Maine from the Stephen King books.
Yeah. It's just not needed. But yeah, I don't know. It's a book that stuck with me because it really, has you sitting with your feelings and your
Yeah,
complicitness.
complicity, I think. Okay, so Firefox sometimes underlines like that's not a word, and it's something that 100% is a word, and you go and look it up, it is a word. But like if it does that enough, you start to doubt, and it's like, oh,
That's life too.
was there an extra piece of this word that I've not been using?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, so I'm totally with you. I'm like, okay, what's the right way to say this?
So that was Penance by Eliza Clark.
Right, my last one, I think a lot of people have read by now because it's been become very popular. The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monika Kim. I love this book. I got to read it early. It was so funny because I was like, I remember I was coming back from an event, and the event went well, but I was just in like, kind of the winter, like, just, winter blues kind of thing. It was just that time of year. And I was just like, I'd gotten the arc, and I was just like, okay, like, let's see how this is. And I just got sucked in immediately when they're like talking about, like, oh, you should eat the eyes from the fish that we cooked for dinner. It's good luck. And I'm like, what?
Did
Which
you
is
not
not
grow
what
up
the
in a household like that?
I know. And I'm just like, um, I find it interesting, and I'll like run down the plot in a second, but like I find it interesting when when what we consider to be a normal thing, because it happens all the time, kind of messes somebody up inside. Because for them, yeah, okay, this happens all the time. For them, this is their life, and it happened to them now. And in this case, the main character's mother starts to look at things that way. It's like, oh, the fish eyes give good luck. She didn't do that before the divorce.
Yeah.
But the divorce, like, just it rocked her to the core. And like we're like, oh well, lots of people get divorced. And it's like, yeah, but she only got divorced this once. And that
Yeah.
was hugely traumatic for her. And it was hugely traumatic for her daughters. And her attempts to patch that up for herself creates more trauma for her daughters, because Jiwon and her sister Jihyun are like kind of having to weather their mother bring in this white guy George into their lives, who is a
Ugh.
slimy, creepy son of a bitch. um he is very like fetishizing their mother and fetishizing them, because he says terrible, like, how do I put this? It's racist, but it's like racist in a way that other white people will not notice a lot of the time, because it sounds positive. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I love this, I love that. And it's just like, it's clearly that just like he is with their mother for superficial reasons, and also creepy fucking reasons, because he's constantly staring at Jiwon, who is, I think, like 19 or
Yeah.
20 maybe at the most, and her sister, who is like 15.
Yeah.
And the staring is the big thing, because she becomes obsessed with his very, very blue eyes, and she starts to have dreams about eating those eyes. um and there's other stuff where she's there's kind of like what I read to be potentially sapphic thing with her friend that she makes at college, Alexis, and this guy who will not leave her alone.
The nice
um
guy, though. He's so
he's so
nice.
nice. He's like very nice in that, like, not like kind, nice in that, like, I'm so nice, therefore I deserve a reward.
Mhm.
And I'm sure George was similar when he was younger. It just feels, I feel that connective tissue there. But like I was just so sucked into this book, and I think I just love when a girl is like obsessed with something. Is just
Yeah.
that's just makes for a great read.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so interesting, her being upset, like she has dreams about like rooms filled with eyeballs and stuff. It is just it's an incredible book. It's an incredible debut. Like, it's hard to believe this is Monica Kim's first book,
I
because it's
know.
just so good. But yeah, I loved it. It's one of my favorite books now.
I remember reading your blurb on it, when I started reading it, and yeah, you're right, this is one of my favorites. It's so good, like a descent of like
Yeah,
a mental descent in, like, the best way, where you're like, "I don't know, I'm cheering you on." Everyone
right.
just sucks, honestly.
Oh,
Good
it's
for
oh,
her.
it's totally like I'm on her side.
Yeah.
Good for her. Like every little scrap of anything she gets, I'm just like, yeah, you get that, Chiwan. Like, just fucking. And then the ending is
Yeah, perfect.
perfect. Is perfect.
Yeah. And this is in the works to get an adaptation last I saw,
Yes,
so I
yes.
am very
I
excited.
forget the details,
Yeah.
but yeah, I did see that it is getting an adaptation. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Um, I did have like a quick honorable mention because Penance is not very coming of ragey, but I just wanted to talk about it. Um, but I think Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix was also very coming of ragey, and I guess I didn't put it as my pick because it was written by a guy, and I really wanted to showcase
I mean,
books written by
we mentioned Carrie
Farrah.
as far as the movies, and yeah.
Yeah. Um, but it is about these girls at this home for unwed mothers and them coming together through witchcraft, and it really culminating in them understanding how the adults around them can just lie to them, can
Yeah.
string them along, and then having to come together and decide to use their power to be there for each other. And I think My Best Friend's Exorcism had a little bit of that, like, the adults in the world are letting you down, and you know who's gonna be there for you at the end of the day? Your teenage girl best friend who, like, believes in you.
The climax of My Best Friend's
Yeah.
Exorcism like makes me cry because
Oh my
they're
god.
she is so there for her, like, in just to an unbelievable, not unbelievable, like unrealistic, or I don't believe this, but just like an extreme degree that is just like just made me cry.
When she's, like, using Phil Collins, like,
And then
for the
they're
exorcism and they're
yeah,
fighting.
but then that's not working, so she uses the song by the Go-Go's, We Got the Beat, because
Yeah,
that's their favorite song that they were singing together at the beginning, and I'm just like, and like now every time I hear that song, I think of that scene, and it's just like, I'm just like, oh, this is supposed to be a happy song. It's not supposed to. It is happy, but it's also just like, heart wrenching.
yeah,
She's so desperate, and yeah.
yeah. It's so good. So, oh my god, and then the ending to My Best Friend's Exorcism, like,
Oh yeah.
the last sentence makes me cry every time.
Hmm.
Every time I even, like, gaze upon it, I'm like, "Oh, I can't do it."
There are a lot of books, honestly, that we could bring into this, either whether they're coming of age or coming of age in the sense of like as a teenager, or as an adult, because I think another Rachel Harrison book that gets into that is So Thirsty,
Yeah,
because it's about aging, and like how that is an important part of being a person, of being a human, and how abandoning that um changes you. As much as she, like, it begins, if I recall correctly, it begins with her just like she's looking in the mirror and just like, I'm not very happy with you. Which, like,
yeah,
that stuck out so much to me because I'm like, oh, been there.
yeah.
um
And you're
but
like, those times where you're just putting on the lipstick and you're like, "I don't what is this
what am I
doing?
what am I even
What
doing here?
what is happening?" You
Why
take
am I going
it's
out?
that scene in The Substance. You're, like, putting
Oh
on the
yeah, oh
lipstick and
yeah, yeah.
smearing it off and like, "Ah."
Right. What was the point? What was I even trying to do here? It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, but there are some, and like these are even just newer books. Like there are
Mhm.
older ones that yeah, there's a lot, and it's important. It's important because I'll be honest, as a society, I don't feel like we've made as much progress in this as we should have.
No, it's
Not by a long shot.
no. Tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Um,
But that was why, for me, it was important that I gather at least some of the stories I've written that address this kind of stuff for the collection.
yeah. And it is important. People love a
Whether people pick it up because they think, oh yeah, teenage girls are demons, like if I actually, I hope those people do pick up the book,
Mhm.
because I hope that they can find themselves on the side of the teenage girls by
Yeah.
the end of it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're still rooting for the adults at the end of Benny Rose, I don't know what you're doing.
And I don't know what to tell you.
I can't help you.
Well, we have a tradition on this podcast to ask our guests for a chilling obsession. So what's something you've been enjoying lately?
I've been enjoying getting back into my MP3s, funny enough, which it's gonna sound weird in like the way things are today. But like, yeah, I recently had canceled Spotify for various ethical reasons, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna pull up my MP3 collection that I haven't touched in years, except for like a couple of things that were just not available because I like a lot of score music, like from movies
Mhm.
and video games and stuff. And I just it wasn't just that though. I was just like, I forgot I liked this kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like there were so many, there were bands, there were composers, there was just a bunch of stuff that I was just like, I was obsessed with this song in college and I completely forgot about it because I've been using streaming for so many years that I just it just left my mind.
Yeah.
And so it's been nice to just kind of like rediscover the things I enjoy as opposed to what like an algorithm is suggesting to me.
Yeah, that is nice.
Um yeah, so that's been my obsession lately is just kind of like exploring that stuff, exploring what I had and didn't remember having.
That's awesome. So do you listen to it on a computer, or do you have like a did you fire up an old MP3 player, or were you able to get it
Oh
on your
God,
phone?
if that it'd be amazing if iPods lasted that long. No, I had a lot of it on my computer, and I've moved it to my phone, and I got
Awesome.
what is the one I have? Pulsar has been a very good free MP3 player that let me organize. No, now I sound like an advertisement, but let me advertise my MP3, so I'm not stressed out about it.
This episode is brought to you by
Pulsar.
Pulsar. It's funny, like, listening to songs, and I always joke with my husband, I'm like, "Oh, this went triple platinum on my MP3 player." On my like, before,
Right?
before I finally, like, was able to get an iPod, I had, like, an off-brand one that only held, like, 30 songs. So, anytime I hear one of those, I'm like, "Oh, yeah. The Rock Show by Blink-182." I heard that one quite a bit when you only have 30 songs.
Right. It's what's funny what becomes if you don't have like something ranking things for you, like what was it, Spotify Wrapped, for example.
Yeah.
It's surprising sometimes with the MP3s what is like what you find like, oh, I listen to that a ton because and like I say that like, I'm from a generation like we were I don't know. I'm like, there's some things I'm like, is it because of my generation or is it because we didn't have money for CDs when I was a kid? But I was like popping in like a cassette tape, like to record that song off the radio here and
Yeah.
there. And I'm just like, I'm sure there's stuff I loved then that is like just gone, but like this is something I could hold on to because I've got MP3s from the early 2000s. Like, those digital files still work versus like there's a Janelle Monáe album where like the second track is not on Spotify because I think all Prince stuff, like a lot of Prince stuff, isn't available on there. And I'm just like, so I'm like, I got the album and it's just like, I never heard this song because a company decided it shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, you know what? I like having control of this a little bit. I like being able to decide that these are mine and I can listen to them as many times as I want and don't have to worry about it. So,
Yeah. I could see that. Well, I had a group chat with like two friends and we were doing that, like listening to the 150 greatest albums by women
mhm.
according to NPR. And there was quite a few where we had to find a way to listen to them because they were not on Spotify. Like
Yeah.
Joanna Newsom, not on Spotify at all. She's
Yeah.
very anti-Spotify.
And she's one of my wife's favorites.
Yeah,
She buys her albums
I think
because
you
she's like
got to.
that's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I've been getting into Bandcamp as well
Yeah.
because I'm just like there are artists on there that I'm just like, "Oh, I'm surprised you're here. I'm glad I can support you
Yeah.
directly now."
Well, speaking of music, we got to go into our second tradition, Haley, which is what is your final girl song?
I had to think about this because I was just like the last time I was on here I had the dismemberment song.
Yeah.
And
Which
I was
is
just like,
fun.
yeah, oh yeah, it's definitely fun. I was just like, but okay, there's more though. Like, what's a good? And I picked "Invincible" by Pat Benatar,
Ooh.
which is not one of her most heard ones, but I'm just like it's a real like let's kick some ass type of song, and I felt that was appropriate for this.
Oh, it absolutely is. You have a lot of stuff coming out this year. This is I feel like
I
This
had
is a
two
busy
I had
year.
2 books, which is half as many as last year. I have restrained, but there have been a lot of, like,
Well,
high profile anthologies I've had stories in, so
that is true. You are I guess, like, do you ever sleep? Because yeah, every year, it's more than, like, one thing. You don't ever have a year where you're just like, "Just this."
I don't know how to stop, like, I okay, my I'm just gonna tell this real quick. My wife, earlier this week is like, "You have to take a day off. You have to take a day off because you are not allowed to just, like, drop dead of a heart attack from having, like, only 4 hours sleep every night." So, like, that day I was like, "Alright, I'm not gonna write today." That was the worst day of the week. I was so stressed and restless and miserable. I was just like, I want to write. I want to write. I love writing. I wrote a couple notes, but I was trying to behave, but it's just like, but I love writing so much. So it's just like it's not because I'm like it's not in my I don't feel like I'm working myself to the bone like the like the other stuff, the publishing stuff. That's where it's like work work,
Yeah, I'm
but like
sure.
writing is like this is fun for me. I'm playing. Like I wrote a draft and I was like it was shorter than I wanted it to be and I was just like this short story and I was just like well now I get to play. Now I get to think of what other stuff will these characters get into? What other stuff will they discover about each other? What will I discover about them as I'm writing them? So it's just like I do sleep, but I'm just bad at it.
And you know what? It's all good because we got a lot of good Haley stories. I loved your essay in Why I Love Horror.
It's so funny. I'm seeing a lot of people pinging that as a standout, and I'm just like, I'm just rambling about Godzilla. But I understand it's more than that, but that's how it feels to me. I'm just like, I'm gushing about Godzilla. Like, is that a standout? And I'm just like, I know it's about like growing up and it's about how horror is there for us and when sometimes when people fail to be and but like it just I don't know. I was just like I was just saying what I felt about Godzilla. It's just like I'm really glad that people resonate with that though. And it's so funny to me as a child who nobody gave a shit about Godzilla when I was a kid. And it's so nice now that it's become like popular. I'm not like a hipster where I'm like, I like this before it was cool. I'm more just like, yay, more people are into Godzilla. They're gonna listen to my bullshit about Godzilla. So the essay is a little bit of that too, but it's also about how I think horror is important and I think it's nurturing. Honestly, I think horror is like I don't think like this is I don't think that's the most important thing of anything. It's like, oh, this should comfort you. Definitely. It's like, no, I think we should be uncomfortable sometimes with
Yeah.
art. And I think horror can do that for us as well. It can sometimes do both. I think a lot of these books that we've talked about today, not to get into the whole thing about why I love horror, but like I think a lot of these books that we talked about today are very discomforting
Mhm.
at points and also cathartic and comforting at others. And I think that's a really important parallel to hold on to.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, it's been a big year for you. You have Teenage Girls Can Be Demons. You have a game in yellow. You had a Godzilla essay and Why I Love
That's
Horror.
the most important part.
Godzilla above all. You were in The End of the World as We Know It. Am I missing something?
I think Roots of My Fears,
Yeah,
the
okay.
Gemma Moore edited one, and which was also kind of could have been in Teenage Girls Can Be. The only reason I didn't include it was because I knew it was going to be in that anthology. I was like, okay, in the slim chance but possible event that we were to do a second volume of Teenage Girls Can Be Demons and gather up more of my coming of rage stories, okay, that one will be in there then, Crepuscular,
Nice.
because that one is like I think I think an important side of that is like your parents can love you so much that they'll do anything for you and still not understand you.
Yeah,
And I think that's important. I think that's an important thing to explore.
I think so too. Well, Haley, thank you so much for coming on here today and talking about coming of rage stories.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a joy talking to you.
Books in the Freezer is a bi-weekly podcast. We post episodes every other Tuesday. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Books in the Freezer, or you can send us an email at booksinthefreezer@gmail.com. Show notes for this episode and all previous episodes are at booksinthefreezer@gmail.com. If you would like to show your support for Books in the Freezer, please consider buying some merch from our TeePublic shop. There are a handful of designs, and you can choose what those designs go on. Stickers, t-shirts, sweaters, baby onesies, coasters, you name it. You can also join our Patreon community at patreon.com/booksinthefreezer, where there are a lot of perks, including bonus episodes, and right now a whole bonus series about R.L. Stine's Fear Street. We have done 11 books so far, 11 episodes for the first 11 Fear Street books, and it has been such a fun journey. So check that out at patreon.com/booksinthefreezer. And there are, of course, plenty of ways to show your support without spending money. Things like sharing about the show on social media, participating in the reading challenge, leaving a review and a rating on a site like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So as always, a big thank you to those of you who have done that already. I have been your host, Stephanie Gagne. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next time on Books in the Freezer.